Gentlemen, how are we doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at some strategies, some tips I have for you guys when it comes to the best strats after these most recent couple of patches that have dramatically changed the gameplay of NHL 24 HUT. Now, I've wanted to make strategy videos a few times throughout this year, but I didn't want to make a strategies video until I felt like I had something worth sharing with you guys, something that I knew could help some of you guys watching right now. And it seemed like every time I finally figured out some great strategies that I know could benefit other people, they went and did a major gameplay update and changed the game a ton. That's happened twice already this year, so I just haven't posted a strategies video so far. But the gameplay, again, has changed dramatically, and strategies that worked beforehand are not going to work anymore. And I feel like I figured out some good strategies for this new meta of NHL 24 HUT, and I'm going to share that with you guys right now. Let's get into it. First off, starting with our offensive strategies at even strength. You can no longer run behind the net. It is no longer a viable strategy in NHL 24. Now, a little bit of background here, boys. Obviously, like if you're Div 4, 5, 6, some of this isn't going to apply to you because the caliber opponent you're playing is just so much different than if you're high Div 3, Div 2, and certainly Div 1. For a little context, I am in Division 2. I've been Division 2 for a while now. I get 10 to 13 wins in HUT champs. I know that's not amazing, but if you're like a Div 1 player, or if you get 14, 15, 16 plus wins in HUT champs every week, you probably don't need this video, right? So I'm trying to make this video for the guys that are in Div 3 that are struggling to get to that 10 win mark in HUT champs, and certainly guys in Div 4, 5, 6. These strategies will definitely help you out with the new meta of NHL 24. What's going on, boys? Quick editing note here. So I made this video prior to finishing out my HUT champs run this past weekend, and these strats actually helped me to get a new personal best for wins in HUT champs in NHL 24. My prior best was 13 wins, as you guys can see. I ended up with 14 this week. So these strats definitely helped. Hopefully they're going to help you guys out as well. So stick around, enjoy. So getting back to what I was saying, if you are in, let's say, Div 4, like high Div 4, and you're struggling, behind the net might still work just because the people that you're playing aren't probably going to be super sound defensively. But for most people that play enough to get some good opponents that are going to know what they're doing more or less defensively, then behind the net just doesn't work anymore. I have switched to Overload as my default, but I'm kind of going back and forth between Overload and Crash the Net. Both of these are much more effective now. Unfortunately, with how the new gameplay changes have affected the game, behind the net doesn't work against someone who just skill zones super hard. You just can't get enough scoring opportunities, you can't get shots through, and the full pressure meter will almost never reach max because it will not go up at all if you have the puck in the corner. Even if you're trying to create scoring chances out of it, you're not going to get enough shots on net and shots through the skill zone, and certainly not get to enough rebounds to make it worth it. So Overload and Crash the Net is the way to go. I go back and forth. I start with Overload usually, and if my person that I'm playing is skill zoning effectively defensively, or they just kind of are shutting me down, they're really good at defense, then I'll switch to Crash the Net. But if they're giving me opportunities in Overload, obviously I'll just let it ride. Now, Crash the Net is actually most effective if you also run a really aggressive forecheck, I've noticed. We'll get to that in a bit. Before we get there, let's finish up on the offensive strats here. My carry dump slider is set all the way to 0, all the way to the left. My cycle shoot is something that I actually changed recently. It used to be all the way to the left to the cycle, but that's not really ideal for the new meta, and it's not really ideal if you're not running behind the net. So I put that right at 5, right in the middle. I might even put that all the way up to shoot and mess around with it. For now, I'm going to try this, and it's been fine. Efficiency energy, again, another one where you probably don't want the energy all the way to the right because your guys are going to burn out super fast the way the new gameplay works. I have it right down the middle at 5. Same thing with don't block. And that's going to be the same for all 4 of my lines. Here are my sliders on defense. Again, all 3 D pairings are exactly the same. I have hold line all the way to the left. I have cycle shoot all the way to the right for shoots. Now, what this means is when you're in the offensive zone, your defenders are going to stay kind of right inside that blue line. If you put it more towards cycle, the offside defender might try to jump up into like the high slot area. I find it's not very effective because A, it makes D2D passes a little bit harder. It's harder to get D2D one-timers, which are really effective now. And then I find that when that happens, your defender starts jumping up to the high slot. It's obviously easier to get burned for an on-man rush going the other way. And then lastly, I actually think it's easier to create offense and attack with your defenders when they have a little bit more space up at the blue line as opposed to getting in too tight. Next up, we're going to go over the team strat. So this is kind of the bread and butter. After the overload switch or the crash the net switch, this is the next most important thing when it comes to the new meta. So like I mentioned, I have been preferring a very, very aggressive forecheck. I think it makes the most sense. It's a good way to actually get full pressure in this new game. So by default, at the start of every game, and it might change, but at the start of every game, here's what I run. I run a 2-3 forecheck. I run a very aggressive neutral zone with 1-2-2 blue. And then I run my forecheck all the way to the right. This slider all the way to the right, forechecking super aggressive. Now, sometimes if I feel like my forecheck is not working as it should, and if I feel like I'm getting burned a little bit too much with some odd man Russians going the other way, I'll change my neutral zone first, change my neutral zone to a 1-3-1. So if you guys just look at the screen, the 1-2-2, this is the position your forecheckers are going to be in when it's in the neutral zone. So you can see there's a lot of room up the boards. So if you're playing someone who just flies the zone and then just chucks it up the boards, the 1-2-2, that's kind of its weakness. So if that happens, and if I notice that, if I'm playing someone good enough to pull it off, I just switch to a 1-3-1, but I keep the 2-3-4 check so that when the puck is in my offensive zone, especially going for rebounds, the 2-3-4 check helps a lot. And then another huge important thing that you should definitely change when it comes to your strategies in NHL 24 after these couple of patches and gameplay updates. Your defensive strategy should definitely be set to tight point. Now, skill zoning is very, very common and very effective right now, and skill zoning just means to have all your guys nice and tight to your goalie with the strategy settings, and just try not to give any shots up, try to get to the rebounds. And it's effective because the full pressure meter isn't going to go up if someone just wants to hang on to it behind your net or in the corners. But here's the thing, and this might be a personal preference for me. I feel like the gameplay meta is a lot of D2D for hope shots. What I call hope shots, it's really just D2D one-timers or getting a tip or just shooting for hopefully a rebound. In my opinion, that's kind of a boring way to play the game. I don't like that. I know that's just a personal preference. I'm sure a lot of people like the D2D meta. It's not my cup of tea. And I hate getting scored on by just a D2D tip shot or a D2D puck that just happens to go through, because I feel like it doesn't take much to set that up. And I feel like it's almost an unlucky goal to give up. So I changed my strategies because A, I think it's the most effective with the new gameplay meta, but also I just really don't like giving up goals from the opponent that's shooting from the point. So I'm running tight point. I'm also running a pretty aggressive defensive strategy with puck side attack. It is the second most aggressive strategy behind high pressure. Now I noticed that puck side attack is just a little bit more effective. I get burned a little bit less often than if I go full on high pressure. And you can kind of know where your guys are going to go because they're going to attack the side of the defensive zone that the puck is on, obviously, which makes sense. It's called puck side attack. I've noticed that the combo of tight point and puck side attack, you can really, really eliminate the D shots from your opponent. Also, it's a good chance to just break up the play, get the puck out of the zone, and get some 2-on-1s and free breakaways pretty easily. Next up for my offensive strategies, this is another thing that I've changed recently. I have full attack on the offensive pressure. So this means as soon as my guys get the puck, I have everyone going. So theoretically, my defense will join the rush and create an extra 3-on-1 or a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2. This has some negatives because if you lose the puck, you might have an odd man rush back. But if you're good at kind of switching to last man back by holding RT and then pressing in on the thumbstick, that always goes to the closest man to your net. If you're good at doing that, it can kind of limit that odd man rush back the other way. I've just noticed that I enjoy being very aggressive with everything I do in the game since these last couple of gameplay updates. In the past, I've started at aggressive and then occasionally go to full attack when I need to get a goal or if I feel like I'm just better than my opponent. I've never really used standard in this game. I think it's just not necessary. I feel like It's too hard to create rushes and get the puck off the ice into the offensive zone with standard or anything less than standard, obviously. So I'm starting with full attack now, and then moving to aggressive if I am struggling with the breakouts. My controlled breakout is strong slide slant. The controlled breakout is if you get the puck and you're behind your own net, you guys will set up and do this strong side slant. This sends someone up the strong side, sends them up the board, so it's easy for a good long breakout stretch pass that can create a 2-on-1 or at least give you a very easy breakout. The quick breakout is used much more often. I use leave zone early, and that's just as soon as I get the puck, my guys start rushing up the ice. Again, super aggressive strategy here. But if you are struggling with, let's say, getting to your rebounds in front of your goalie and breaking the puck out from there, because that can be challenging sometimes, especially if you're not on the best connection compared to your opponents, and especially if they are running an aggressive forecheck themselves, then I would recommend switching your quick breakout to close support. That keeps your guys a little bit closer. That helps you get to the rebounds and helps you clear the rebounds a little bit easier. And then real quick, I'll go over my power play and penalty kill settings. These haven't changed as much. Basically for power plays, I like overload. Sometimes I'll switch that to just shooting if my opponent is really good defensively and I'm just not getting anything going. But typically overload. These other options, 1-3-1 and umbrella, I just feel like they're too easy to defend in this game, and they lead to odd man rushes against too often. So overload it is, and it kind of works if you're running overload at 5-on-5 because you already know what you're doing there. And then penalty kill, I've just run diamond for the last 2+ years in this game, so I kind of know it like the back of my hand. I'm pretty good at it. I think it's really good for creating odd man rushes on the PK and scoring some shorties, which I really like to do. But I would also recommend a 1-1-2. That gives you 3 guys right and close to your net, and that 4th guy is trying to prevent the DDD one-timers. That's still a very good option for getting the puck and just sending the guy for a breakaway, and then still protecting the house. So either of those options I would recommend. And that's all I have for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please drop a like. If you find these strategies are beneficial, please let me know in the comments. This time, I'm just going to post this video. Hope that it helps you guys. And then if we do get another massive gameplay change, I'll just make a new version of this video. So that's the game plan going forward. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one.